Don't touch me.
He wiped his palms as if he just touched something rotten.
Oh my God! I can still feel it on my skin!
The black woman in the navy blue dress stood motionless.
Who let her in? Why is there a black woman here? Her entrance is downstairs with the staff. She said nothing.
She picked up her glass of mineral water. She took a slow sip. He stepped closer.
Why don't you thank me for letting you breathe the same air?
She set the glass down. She looked him straight in the eye.
You'll remember my name before the night is over.
He laughed. He shouldn't have laughed, because 30 minutes later, this man was kneeling, actually begging this woman for a chance. Now, to understand what happened next, you need to know who this woman really was. That morning, Tara Wilson woke up at 5:45 in her Brooklyn brownstone. No alarm. Her body just knew. The bedroom was still dark, just the faint hum of the city outside and the creak of old hardwood under her feet. She walked downstairs barefoot, made her own coffee, French press. The kitchen smelled like dark roast and cinnamon. Sunlight came through the window and landed on a row of jasmine plants on the sill, the same species her grandmother Lorraine used to grow on the porch back in rural Georgia. She stood there for a moment, eyes closed, breathing in the scent. Every morning, for just a few seconds, she was 8 years old again, sitting on that porch with Lorraine, watching the sun come up over red clay roads. Then she touched the thin gold bracelet on her left wrist, the only jewelry she ever wore. It had been Lorraine's, a sharecropper's daughter who raised Tara alone after both her parents passed. No fortune, no connections, just dignity that couldn't be bent. Lorraine used to say one thing over and over. "Baby, don't ever show your cards until you're ready to collect the whole table." Tara never forgot that. Now here's what most people didn't know about Tara Wilson. She was the founder and sole majority shareholder of Elevance Global, a Fortune 100 biotech infrastructure conglomerate valued at over $60 billion. Personal net worth, $4.2 billion. She'd worked her way through MIT on full scholarships, built the company from a one-room lab in Boston with borrowed equipment. Time magazine put her face on the cover with 2 words, "The Quiet Titan." But you'd never guess any of that by looking at her. Her closet was modest. She drove a 5-year-old SUV. No driver, no entourage. She answered her own phone sometimes. People in her world all described her the same way. The most powerful person you'd never pick out of a crowd. That morning, she walked through Elevance Global's R&D floor. White lab coats everywhere. The hum of centrifuges. The faint chemical tang of reagents in the air. She greeted the janitor by name. Gerald, 2 grandkids, bad knee. She stopped to ask a lab tech about her daughter's soccer tournament. She passed the framed time cover on the wall without glancing at it. This was Tara Wilson. Quiet, grounded, invisible by choice. Now let's talk about tonight, the Sterling Foundation Annual Gala, Manhattan's biggest networking event for the business elite. Rooftop venue overlooking Central Park, candles flickering in glass holders, the soft clink of silverware against porcelain. The air smelled like expensive cologne and ambition. Tara didn't want to come. She hated galas. She'd rather spend her evening reviewing clinical trial data. But her executive assistant, Denise Caldwell, had insisted. 3 infrastructure partners confirmed attendance, Denise told her, including that Ashford company. Their CFO submitted a strong proposal. You should at least show your face. Tara sighed. Fine. 1 hour, not a minute more. She put on a simple navy dress. No diamonds, no designer clutch, just Lorraine's bracelet. And she walked into a room full of people who measured your worth by what you wore. Now, Craig Ashford. He arrived at the gala like he owned the building. Loud voice, big handshake, slapping backs, telling jokes that made people laugh out of obligation, not amusement. His suit alone cost $12,000. His watch cost more than some people's cars. But behind the performance, Craig Ashford was drowning. His company, Ashford Development Corp., was 3/4 behind on projections. Clients were quietly leaving. Bankruptcy wasn't a rumor anymore. It was a date on the calendar. His CFO, Spencer Nolan, pulled him aside near the bar, face tight, voice low. Craig, Elevance Global's CEO is here tonight. If we land this deal, we survive. If we don't, we file Chapter 11 by September. That's not a projection. That's math. Craig took a sip of bourbon. Relax, Spence. I'll charm whoever it is. Spencer hesitated. Do you even know what they look like? Doesn't matter. I can read a room. He couldn't, because 20 minutes later, someone introduced him to a woman standing alone at the bar. No title mentioned, no company, just first names. Craig, this is Tara. Tara? Craig. He looked at her navy dress, her bare neck, her plain bracelet, and he decided, in less than 2 seconds, that she was nobody. That decision cost him everything. And this is where it all began. Craig looked at her the way you'd look at a wrong delivery, eyes scanning top to bottom, slow, deliberate, taking inventory. Navy dress, no label he recognized, no diamonds at the neck, no designer clutch hanging from her wrist, no heels that screamed money. Just a thin gold bracelet that looked like it came from a flea market. He extended his hand, not because he wanted to, because the person who introduced them was still standing there, watching, waiting. 2 fingers, limp. The kind of handshake you give when you've already decided someone doesn't matter. The kind that says, I'm doing this for the room, not for you. Tara gripped his hand normally, firm, professional. She even offered a small nod. The kind of respect you give a stranger simply because they're human. Craig pulled away fast, like he'd touched a hot stove. Then came the napkin. He didn't reach for it quietly. He didn't slip it off the bar and wipe his hand under the table where no one could see. No. He turned to a passing server, lifted a cloth napkin right off the silver tray and wiped his palm. Slowly, deliberately, finger by finger, while looking directly at his circle of associates, making sure they saw, making sure everyone nearby saw. Don't touch me, he muttered, then louder, loud enough for tables around him to hear. God, I can still feel it on my skin. The sound around them shifted. It didn't go silent. It went wrong. 2 women at a nearby table stopped mid-conversation, wine glasses frozen halfway to their lips. A bartender's hand paused on a champagne glass. The man who'd made the introduction took a half step back, his face draining of color. Even the background music, a jazz trio in the corner, seemed to thin out, like the room itself was holding its breath. Tara didn't move. Her expression didn't crack. Her breathing didn't change. She stood exactly where she was, sparkling water in hand, as if she were watching rain through a window. Craig mistook her silence for weakness. That was his second mistake. He turned fully toward his circle now. 3 men in expensive suits. 1 woman in a red dress who suddenly found her phone very interesting. Craig's voice carried, not because the room was quiet, but because he wanted it to. He was performing, and the stage was any room he walked into. Who let her in? Seriously, this gala has a guest list, not an open-door policy. One of the men chuckled, nervous, not amused. The others said nothing. One adjusted his tie. Another suddenly needed to check the time. Craig took a sip of bourbon, swirled the ice in his glass, kept going. You know what this is, right? DEI. Diversity hire. Somebody's charity case got a +1 and wandered upstairs. Happens every year. They sneak in, grab some free champagne, take a few photos, and pretend they belong. He said it like it was a joke. But nobody laughed this time. The air around that circle had shifted, gotten heavier. You could feel the discomfort settling in like humidity before a storm. The woman in the red dress excused herself. "I need to find my husband," she said, even though she'd come alone. She walked away without looking back. Her heels clicked sharp and fast on the marble floor. The sound of someone leaving a situation they wanted no part of. Craig didn't notice. He was on a roll now. The bourbon was warm in his chest. The spotlight felt good. He loosened his tie half an inch and leaned in closer to the remaining men. "Let me tell you a story," he said. "Last year, we hired a black contractor for a project in Jersey. Guy couldn't read a blueprint to save his life. We had to redo 3 months of foundation work. Cost us $2 million and 4 months of delays." He paused, waited for the punchline to build. "I told my guys, next time, just hire the building to do it itself. At least concrete doesn't file a discrimination complaint." Silence. One man forced a thin smile that disappeared immediately. Another looked at his shoes. The third took a long drink and said nothing. The air around that circle had turned cold and brittle. You could feel it. That specific kind of discomfort when everyone knows a line has been crossed, but nobody wants to be the one to say it. And through all of this, every word, every joke, every sneer, Tara Wilson stood 15 feet away, close enough to hear. She heard every word, every single one. Each syllable landing like a small stone dropped into still water. Denise Caldwell was beside her. Tara's executive assistant had a grip on her own clutch so tight her knuckles had gone white. Her jaw was clenched hard enough to ache. Her eyes were burning with something between fury and disbelief. "Say the word," Denise whispered through her teeth. "One word, and I'll have security drag him out by his $12,000 collar." Tara shook her head. Slow. Calm. "Not yet. Tara, I heard what he said. All of it." Denise stared at her. "Then why are we just standing here?" Tara took a sip of her water, set it down gently on the bar. The ice clinked against the glass, the only sound between them. "Because my grandmother taught me something. You don't flip the table when you're angry. You flip it when you're ready." Denise exhaled hard through her nose. She didn't agree. But she trusted Tara more than she trusted her own instincts. She'd watched this woman build $1 billion empire with the same patience, the same quiet, the same terrifying calm. Across the room, Spencer Nolan had been watching the whole thing unfold from the edge of the bar. He hadn't heard every word Craig said, but he'd seen the napkin. He'd seen the wiping. He'd seen the body language, the way people leaned away from Craig instead of toward him. He'd seen the woman in the red dress walk away fast, and his stomach was sinking like an anchor. He grabbed Craig's arm, pulled him 2 steps from the group. His grip was harder than it needed to be. "Craig, stop talking, right now." What's your problem? I said stop. I still haven't identified the Elevant's CEO, and half the room is watching you act like a fool. Can you please, for one night, just one night, keep it professional? Craig yanked his arm free, straightened his cufflinks with a sharp snap. I'm always professional. Spencer looked at him, really looked. And for the first time in 8 years of working together, he felt something close to disgust rising in his throat. Meanwhile, Tara had moved to the terrace. The night air hit her face, cool, sharp, carrying the faint green smell of Central Park trees far below. The noise of the gala softened behind the glass doors. Out here, it was just the wind and the city hum. Distant car horns. A helicopter somewhere uptown. The terrace railing was cold under her fingers. She stood there, both hands flat on the metal, knuckles tight. Denise stood beside her, silent now, giving her space. Tara pulled out her phone, dialed a number. It rang twice. It's me, she said quietly. Pull the Ashford file. Everything. Financials, contracts, pending proposals, board structure. I want it on my desk by 6 a.m. She hung up, slid the phone back into her clutch. Her face gave away nothing. Denise looked at her. What are you going to do? Tara didn't answer right away. She looked out over the skyline, a city she'd helped build, literally. 3 of those towers ran on Elevant's infrastructure. 2 hospitals in the Bronx used her biotech patents. A water treatment facility in Queens existed because of a grant her foundation funded. This city owed her more than it would ever know. And a man inside that room had just wiped his hand after touching hers. She turned back toward the glass doors. Through them, she could see Craig, laughing, bourbon in hand, not a care in the world. Tara looked at Denise. I'm going back in. Why? Because I want him to see my face one more time tonight. I want him to remember it later. She walked back into the gala. Didn't avoid Craig's circle. She walked past it, close enough that he could catch the faint scent of jasmine on her skin. She looked him dead in the eye, and she smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a polite smile. The kind of smile that says, I know something you don't. Craig felt it. Something cold moved through his chest. He couldn't name it, couldn't explain it. But for one brief second, the bourbon didn't taste as good. He shook it off. He shouldn't have. The next morning, Craig Ashford sat in his corner office on the 32nd floor of Ashford Development Corp. Feet up on the desk, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. Scrolling through the business section like a man without a single problem in the world. Last night had been fun. Good bourbon. Good crowd. He'd been the center of attention, just the way he liked it. His door slammed open. Spencer Nolan stood in the doorway. No knock, no good morning, just a tablet clutched in both hands, and a face that looked like it had aged 10 years overnight. His tie was crooked. His hair was uncombed. His eyes had the look of a man who'd been staring at a screen since 4 a.m. and found something that made him want to throw up. We need to talk, right now. Craig didn't look up from his phone. Spence, whatever it is, send me an email. Craig, put the phone down. Something in Spencer's voice made him stop. It wasn't anger. It was fear. The kind of fear that sits at the bottom of your stomach and doesn't move. Craig set the phone down. Slowly. Spencer walked to the desk, placed the tablet face up in front of him. On the screen was a Forbes profile. A woman's face. Dark skin, calm eyes, the faintest hint of a smile. Tara Wilson, founder and CEO, Elevance Global. Net worth, $4.2 billion. Craig's face didn't move at first. His brain was still processing, still trying to connect the woman on the screen to the woman at the bar. The navy dress, the plain bracelet, the sparkling water. Then it hit him. All the blood drained from his face. His hand reached for his tie, loosening it like he suddenly couldn't breathe. He grabbed the glass of water on his desk and drank the whole thing. His hand was shaking. The glass rattled when he set it down. That was her? The woman at the bar? Spencer's voice was flat, dead. The voice of a man delivering a death certificate. Yes, that was her. The woman you shook hands with. The woman you wiped your hand after touching. The woman you called a charity case. The woman whose company is the only reason we're not already filing for bankruptcy. Craig stood up, sat back down, stood up again. He was pacing now, back and forth behind his desk like a trapped animal. His shoes squeaked on the hardwood floor. Squeak, turn. Squeak, turn. She probably didn't hear me, right? I wasn't that loud. She was across the... Craig. Spencer cut him off. His voice was a blade. The bartender heard you. The server heard you. The woman in the red dress heard you. She left because of you. Half the room heard you. And Tara Wilson was standing 15 feet away. 15! She heard every single word. Craig stopped pacing. He put both hands on his desk and leaned forward, staring at the tablet, at her face, at those calm, steady eyes that now, in hindsight, looked less like passivity and more like patience. The patience of someone who already knew how this was going to end. What do I do? Craig's voice had changed. The confidence was gone. The swagger was gone. What was left sounded small, thin, like air leaking from a tire. I don't know, Craig. I genuinely don't know. Craig moved fast after that, desperate fast. He called Elevance Global's main office at 9:01 a.m. A receptionist picked up, polite, professional. I'd like to speak with Ms. Wilson, please. It's Craig Ashford, Ashford Development. A pause. The sound of typing. Then, I'm sorry, Mr. Ashford. Ms. Wilson is unavailable. When will she be available? I'm not able to say. Would you like to leave a message? He left a message. Then another. Then a third. Each one more urgent than the last. None were returned. He sent emails, 3 in 1 hour. Professional at first, then pleading. I'd appreciate the opportunity to discuss our potential partnership. Then, Ms. Wilson, I believe there may have been a misunderstanding last evening. Then, please, just 5 minutes of your time. No response. He reached out through mutual contacts, called in favors, asked friends of friends to put in a word. One by one, they all came back with the same answer. Sorry, Craig, can't help you with this one. One contact was more blunt. After what happened at the gala, I'm not putting my name anywhere near yours. Craig sent flowers to Elevance Global's headquarters. A massive arrangement, $300 worth of white orchids and lilies. The kind of arrangement you send when you've run out of words. They were returned the next day, unopened. A small envelope tucked into the cellophane with a handwritten note from Denise Caldwell. Ms. Wilson appreciates your gesture, but is unable to accept gifts from prospective partners at this time. Prospective partners. The words hit Craig like ice water. She was already framing this as business. Clean, distant, professional. He was being handled, and he knew it. He tried one last thing, the thing desperate people do when every door is closed. He showed up. Tuesday morning, 10:15 a.m. Craig Ashford walked into the lobby of Elevance Global's headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. Glass walls, polished floors so clean you could see your reflection, employees moving through the space with the quiet efficiency of people who loved where they worked. He walked to the front desk, straightened his tie, put on his best smile. Craig Ashford, Ashford Development, I'm here to see Ms. Wilson. The security officer checked the screen, typed something, checked again. I'm sorry, sir. You're not on the approved visitor list. There must be a mistake. Can you call her office? Sir, if you're not on the list, I'm unable to grant access. Company policy. I'll wait. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the building. Craig stood there for a long moment. The lobby was bright, sunlight pouring through the glass. People walking past him. Engineers, executives, researchers. All of them part of an empire built by the woman he had insulted to her face. He could feel their eyes on him. Or maybe he was imagining it. Either way, his skin burned. He left. And then the video dropped. Someone at the gala had been recording. Not intentionally. They'd been filming a selfie with the skyline. But in the background, clear as day, was Craig Ashford, shaking a black woman's hand, pulling away, grabbing a napkin, wiping his palm. And then, because the phone's microphone was better than anyone expected, his voice, crystal clear. God, I can still feel it on my skin. The video was posted to Twitter at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. By midnight, it had 4 million views. By Thursday morning, 11 million. It jumped to Instagram, then TikTok. Then the news networks picked it up. The footage was devastating. Not just Craig's words, his face. That expression of theatrical disgust, the slow, deliberate wiping. And then, in the background, the woman in the navy dress, standing still, unbothered, composed, dignified in a way that made his cruelty look even uglier by contrast. The internet did what the internet does. Hashtags exploded overnight. Hashtag Napkin Man. Hashtag She Didn't Flinch. Hashtag Tara Wilson. People found out who she was within hours. And when they did, when they learned that the woman Craig Ashford had publicly humiliated was a self-made billionaire worth 4,000 times his net worth, the story went nuclear. News outlets called Ashford Development every 15 minutes. Craig's PR team scrambled. They released a statement at 2 a.m. Thursday. Mr. Ashford's comments were taken out of context and do not reflect his personal values or those of Ashford Development Corp. The internet tore it apart in minutes. Taken out of context? One viral reply read, "Brother, the context is the problem." Craig's face was everywhere. Every news channel, every timeline, every group chat. He was the most hated man in America, and the week wasn't even over. And while Craig was drowning in public shame, the real damage was just beginning. Existing clients of Ashford Development started pulling back. Quietly at first. A phone call here, an email there. We're pausing our partnership pending review. We'd like to revisit the terms of our agreement. Corporate language for, we don't want our name next to yours. 2 mid-size contracts were frozen. A regional bank called about the terms of Ashford's revolving credit line. The kind of call you only get when someone's worried you can't pay. Spencer delivered the news in Craig's office. Door closed, blinds drawn. The room smelled like cold coffee and sweat. Two clients paused. The bank is asking questions. And the board just called an emergency meeting for Friday. Craig sat behind his desk. He looked smaller than usual. His suit didn't fit the same way. His voice was hoarse. The board? What do they want? Spencer looked at him for a long time before answering. They want to talk about your future, Craig. Your future with the company your family built. The silence that followed was the loudest sound in the room. 3 weeks passed. 21 days of silence. No returned calls. No emails. No meetings. Just nothing. A void so loud it kept Craig awake at night. Then, on a Tuesday morning, his phone rang. He didn't recognize the number. He almost let it go to voicemail. But something, desperation maybe, made him pick up.
Mr. Ashford, this is Denise Caldwell, Executive Assistant to Tara Wilson. Ms. Wilson will see you tomorrow, 10 a.m., her office. Please be on time.
Click. No small talk, no warmth. Just a time, a place, and a dial tone. Craig didn't sleep that night. He tried on 4 different suits, rehearsed apologies in the bathroom mirror until the words lost all meaning. The next morning, he arrived at Elevance Global's headquarters at 9:42, 18 minutes early. His palms were sweating through his shirt cuffs. His mouth was dry. The lobby looked different this time, not because anything had changed, but because he was seeing it clearly now. The scale, the quiet, humming power of an empire built from nothing. The elevator ride felt like it lasted an hour. Each floor that ticked by was another layer of reality settling onto his shoulders. Floor 12, biotech research. Floor 18, global infrastructure planning. Floor 25, government contracts. Every floor a reminder that this company was larger than anything he'd ever touched. Denise met him at the 36th floor. She didn't smile, didn't shake his hand, just said, "Follow me." They passed through corridors lined with glass-walled offices, engineers in lab coats, a wall-mounted screen showing Elevance Global's real-time operations across 14 countries. Craig's entire company, everything his family had built over 3 generations, could fit into 1 floor of this building. Denise stopped at a door. Oak. Simple. No gold nameplate. "She's inside." He pushed the door open. The office was modest. Bookshelves lined one wall. A few plants by the window. The faint scent of jasmine. The same scent he'd caught at the gala when she walked past him. On the desk, a framed photograph. An older black woman with deep-set eyes and a gentle smile. Lorraine Wilson. Next to it, the Time magazine cover. The quiet titan. Tara was seated. She didn't stand, didn't extend her hand. She looked at him the way a surgeon looks at an X-ray. Clinical, precise, already knowing what's broken. "Sit." 1 word. He sat immediately. She let the silence hold for 15 seconds, long enough for Craig to hear his own breathing, long enough for the weight of the room to press down on his chest. Then she spoke. Calm. Even. No anger in her voice. Something worse than anger. Certainty. "You shook my hand. Then you wiped it clean. You said you could still feel it on your skin. You called me a charity case. You asked who let me in. You told a racist joke about a black contractor to get a laugh from men who didn't even think it was funny. Each sentence landed like a hammer on glass. Precise, unhurried, devastating. Craig opened his mouth. Miss Wilson, I am so deeply sorry. It was a terrible mistake. I didn't know who you were. That's the problem, Mr. Ashford. She leaned forward, just slightly, just enough. You didn't know who I was, and that's exactly why you did it. If I'd been a white woman in a designer gown, you wouldn't have needed to know my name to treat me like a human being. You would have smiled. You would have bought me a drink. But I was a black woman in a simple dress, so you decided I was nothing. Craig's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Tara opened a folder on her desk. Inside, financial documents. His company's financials. Profit and loss statements bleeding red ink. Debt ratios that look like a countdown. I was considering your company for a $200 million infrastructure contract before the gala. Your CFO submitted a compelling proposal. Spencer Nolan, he's good, by the way. Talented man working for the wrong person. She closed the folder. Flat. Final. The sound of it snapping shut echoed in the room. I'm not considering it anymore. Craig's composure cracked. Not slowly, all at once, like a dam breaking. His eyes went red. His voice shook. Miss Wilson, please, I am begging you, one chance, just one. Thousands of jobs depend on this deal. Families, mortgages, kids in school. You can't. Those employees will be fine. Her voice didn't waver. Elevance has a workforce transition program. If your company folds, we'll extend offers to every qualified Ashford employee. Every single one. She paused. Let that sink in. They are not my concern. You are not someone I will do business with. Not today, not ever. Craig sat there, mouth open, eyes wet, hands gripping the armrests like the floor might disappear beneath him. Tara looked at him one last time. You wanted to know who I was, Mr. Ashford. Now you know. Craig walked out of Tara Wilson's office like a man leaving his own funeral. His legs moved, but he wasn't really walking. He was drifting. Denise held the door open for him without a word. The elevator ride down 36 floors was silent except for the soft hum of cables and the sound of his own breathing. Shallow, uneven, like he'd just been punched in the chest. The lobby doors opened. Sunlight hit his face. And so did the cameras. 3 news vans, 2 photographers, a reporter with a microphone already extended. Someone had tipped them off. Someone always does. Mr. Ashford, can you comment on the video from the Sterling Gala? Mr. Ashford, is it true Elevance Global has pulled out of negotiations? Craig, over here! Did Tara Wilson accept your apology? He shielded his face with one hand, walked fast, head down. His driver pulled the car around and he climbed in, slamming the door behind him. Through the tinted window, he could still see the flash of cameras, still hear the muffled shouting. This was his life now. Back at Ashford Development, the atmosphere was a morgue. No one made eye contact with him in the hallway. Conversations stopped when he walked past. Doors closed a little faster than usual. Spencer was waiting in the boardroom. But he wasn't alone. 6 board members, seated around the long mahogany table. No coffee, no water, no pleasantries, just 6 faces carved from stone. The chairman, a 70-year-old man named Douglas Pemberton, who had known Craig's father for 40 years, spoke first. Craig, we've reviewed the situation, the video, the media coverage, the loss of the Elevance partnership. And frankly, we've reviewed your conduct over the past several years. Craig opened his mouth. Douglas raised a hand. The board has voted unanimously. You are being removed as CEO of Ashford Development Corp., effective immediately. Spencer Nolan will serve as interim CEO. Craig stared at him. This is my family's company. My father built... Your father built a reputation. You destroyed it in one night. The room was quiet. Craig looked around the table. 6 pairs of eyes. Not one looked away. Not one flinched. He stood up, walked out, didn't say another word. That evening, Craig posted a public apology video from his home office. He wore a navy sweater, no suit, no tie. The lighting was soft, clearly coached, every word scripted. I want to sincerely apologize to Ms. Wilson and anyone who was hurt by my words. They do not reflect who I am as a person. The comments section was merciless.
They don't reflect who you are? Sir, we have you on video.
The napkin reflected exactly who you are.
Apologize to the napkin, too. It didn't deserve that either.
The video got 12 million views in 2 days. Not because people believed him, because they didn't. The fallout spread fast. Companies that had been considering partnerships with Ashford Development pulled out publicly. Not quietly, publicly. Press releases, statements, each one using the same phrase, values misalignment. The Sterling Foundation retroactively revoked Craig's invitation to all future events and issued a formal statement of support for Tara Wilson. 3 other gala organizations followed within the week. Business magazines ran side-by-side profiles. Tara Wilson on the left, scholarship kid, self-made billionaire, quiet philanthropist. Craig Ashford on the right, inherited wealth, shrinking company, public disgrace. The headline in one publication said it all. Humility versus hubris, a tale of 2 leaders. And then Craig's personal life collapsed. His phone stopped ringing. Not the business calls, those had been dead for days. The personal ones, old friends, golf buddies, college roommates. People who used to return his texts in minutes now let them sit for days, then stopped responding entirely. His country club, the one he'd been a member of for 19 years, sent a letter. His membership was under review. The language was polite. The message was clear. You're not welcome here anymore. The final blow came on a Thursday evening. Craig came home to find a suitcase by the front door. His wife standing in the kitchen with car keys in her hand. I've been making excuses for you for 22 years, Craig. I'm done. She filed for separation the next morning. Craig Ashford, the man who wiped his hand after touching a black woman because he thought she was beneath him, was now learning, for the first time in his life, what it felt like to be erased by every room he walked into. The exact thing he had done to Tara. But this story didn't end with Craig losing his job, or his wife, or his reputation. Because the video didn't just go viral, it opened a door. And behind that door were years of ugliness that had been locked away in silence. It started with one phone call, then another, then a flood. Rebecca Townsend, an investigative journalist at the Atlantic Post, had been watching the hashtag Napkin Man story unfold like everyone else. But while the internet was busy making memes, Rebecca was doing what she did best: digging. She published the first piece on a Sunday morning. The headline, "The napkin was just the beginning. Inside Ashford Development's culture of discrimination." The article was devastating. Former employees, 12 of them on the record with their names and faces attached, described a workplace built on prejudice. Not the subtle kind, not the kind you could explain away or second guess, the kind that left marks. A black project manager named Angela Cross told her story first. She'd worked at Ashford Development for 9 years. 9 years of perfect performance reviews. 9 years of arriving early and leaving late. 9 years of watching white colleagues with half her experience get promoted over her. Not once, not twice, but 6 times. "Every time a senior position opened," Angela said, "I applied. Every time they gave it to someone who'd been there 2 years. One of them didn't even have a degree. I have a master's from Columbia." She paused during the interview, took a breath. "Craig told me once, to my face, that clients preferred a certain look for senior roles. I asked him what that meant. He just smiled and walked away." Then came the story of Miguel Estrada, a Latino subcontractor who'd worked with Ashford Development on 3 commercial projects. His invoices were systematically delayed, sometimes by 90 days, sometimes longer. When he complained, he was told it was processing issues. White subcontractors on the same projects were paid within 30. "I almost lost my business," Miguel said. "I had employees I couldn't pay. I had to take out a personal loan to cover payroll. And every time I called their office, I got the same answer. It's in the system. 3 years of that." The third story was the one that broke people. A former executive assistant, a young black woman named Charlene Banks, described being pulled into Craig's office on her 3rd day. He looked at her braids, her gold earrings, her patterned blouse. "He told me to dress less ethnic for client meetings," Charlene said. "Those were his exact words, less ethnic." I asked what that meant. He said, "You know what it means. Fix it or find another job." She lasted 4 months before she quit. She didn't file a complaint. She didn't tell anyone. She just left. "I was 23, Charlene said. "I didn't know I had options. I thought that's just how it was." Rebecca's article included internal emails, memos, performance reviews with notes in the margins that would make your skin crawl. One email from Craig to a department head read, "Let's keep the front office clean. You know what I mean." The article was shared 2 million times in its first week. And then the lawsuits began. 12 former employees filed a class action discrimination suit against Ashford Development Corp. The complaint was thick. Over 200 pages of documented incidents, internal communications, and testimony. Within a month, 8 more plaintiffs joined. Then another 6. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission opened a formal investigation. Federal investigators arrived at Ashford Development's offices with subpoenas. Boxes of files were carried out. Hard drives were copied. The lobby that Craig used to strut through like a king was now a crime scene in all but name. Craig was personally named in 11 of the individual suits. His attorneys, a team of 4 costing him $30,000 a week, advised immediate settlement. Write the checks. Make it go away. Move on. But the plaintiffs didn't want checks. They wanted accountability. "We're not here for money," Angela Cross told reporters on the courthouse steps. "We're here because someone needs to say, out loud, in a courtroom, under oath, that what happened to us was wrong. and that the man who did it faces consequences. A federal judge reviewed the case and allowed it to proceed to trial. In her written opinion, she called the evidence deeply troubling, systemic in nature, and indicative of a culture built from the top down. From the top down, meaning Craig. His assets were partially frozen pending litigation. The penthouse in Manhattan? Sold. The vacation house in the Hamptons? Sold. The art collection his wife had curated over 15 years? Auctioned. Craig Ashford was being stripped down to the studs, and the whole country was watching. The trial lasted 11 days. Testimony from former employees filled the courtroom with a weight you could feel in your chest. Angela Cross spoke for 40 minutes. Charlene Banks spoke for 20. Miguel Estrada brought invoices, physical paper yellowed at the edges, that proved every word of his story. Craig took the stand on day 8. His attorney had prepared him, coached him, drilled him for hours on what to say and how to say it. It didn't matter. Under cross-examination, Craig contradicted himself within 15 minutes. He denied writing emails that had his signature on them. He claimed he didn't recall conversations that 3 witnesses had already described in identical detail. He said the napkin incident was a misunderstanding. The prosecutor played the video. Full screen, full audio, in a silent courtroom. God, I can still feel it on my skin. Craig closed his eyes on the witness stand. The jury didn't. The verdict came on a Friday afternoon. Guilty on all counts of fostering a discriminatory workplace environment. Ashford Development Corp. was ordered to pay $38 million in damages to the plaintiffs. Craig Ashford was individually fined $2.4 million and barred from holding any corporate leadership position for 10 years. 10 years. The length of time Angela Cross had waited for a promotion she deserved. Craig stood motionless as the verdict was read. His attorneys whispered something to him. He didn't respond. He just stared straight ahead at nothing. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Angela Cross stood at a microphone, tears on her face but steel in her voice. This isn't just about Ashford. This is about every person who was told to dress less ethnic. Every person whose invoice was delayed because of their last name. Every person who was wiped away like dirt on someone's hand. Today, the court said, that's not okay. And it never was. Tara Wilson did not attend the trial. Not one day. She watched the verdict from her office in Midtown, alone. The door closed, the blinds half drawn. When the word guilty came through the speaker, she didn't cheer, didn't pump her fist, didn't call anyone. She touched her grandmother's bracelet, held it between 2 fingers, closed her eyes. Then she picked up her phone and called her COO. The Ashford transition list. How many employees have we processed? 340, all placed. Good. She hung up, sat back in her chair, looked at Lorraine's photograph on the desk. A promise made, a promise kept. So where are they now? Tara Wilson is still running Elevance Global. The company crossed a new valuation milestone last quarter, $82 billion. Forbes moved her up 3 spots on their annual list. She didn't celebrate. She doesn't celebrate those things. She just went back to work. But she did do one thing. She launched the Lorraine Wilson Foundation, a nonprofit funding full-ride scholarships for first-generation college students from rural communities across the South. The same kind of communities where her grandmother grew up. The same kind of communities that never make the news unless something goes wrong. The first class of Lorraine Wilson scholars, 48 students from 12 states, started college last fall. Tara showed up to the orientation. No cameras, no press release. She sat in the back row of the auditorium and watched those kids walk across the stage. And for the first time in this entire story, Tara Wilson cried. She still drives the same 5-year-old SUV, still makes her own coffee every morning, still wears the bracelet. Some things don't change. Some things shouldn't. Craig Ashford lives in a rented condo in New Jersey now. 2 bedrooms, street parking, a long way from the penthouse, a long way from the corner office on the 32nd floor. He's barred from holding any corporate leadership position until the end of the decade. He tried to reinvent himself, hired a publicist, started a blog called Second Chances, positioned himself as a reformed advocate for workplace inclusion. The internet wasn't buying it. The comments were brutal. The blog quietly disappeared after 3 months. His wife never came back. The separation became a divorce. The country club never reinstated his membership. Most of the people who used to laugh at his jokes won't return his calls. He became what every business school ethics course needs, a cautionary tale. His name is in textbooks now. Not the kind of legacy his father imagined. Spencer Nolan stayed. As interim CEO, he steered Ashford Development through a painful restructuring. The company survived, smaller, leaner, humbled. Spencer wrote a new diversity and inclusion mandate into the company charter. Not because the court ordered it, because he'd watched what happened when nobody did. And the people Craig hurt? Angela Cross, the project manager who was passed over 6 times, is now vice president of operations at a Fortune 500 firm. She got the title she always deserved, just not from the people who should have given it to her. Miguel Estrada rebuilt his contracting business. He now has 22 employees and a policy he's proud of. Every subcontractor gets paid within 15 days. No exceptions. No processing issues. Charlene Banks went back to school, got her MBA. She now runs a nonprofit that helps young professionals of color navigate workplace discrimination. She named it Fix It, after the words Craig said to her on her 3rd day. Fix it or find another job. She fixed it, just not the way he meant. Now let me step back from this story for a moment. One gesture. That's all it was. A man wiped his hand after touching a black woman. Took him 2 seconds. Cost him everything. But here's the thing. It wasn't really about the napkin. It was about what the napkin revealed. A worldview. A hierarchy he carried inside him so naturally he didn't even think to hide it. He believed, truly believed, that some people are worth less than others based on how they look. And the world told him no. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a room where someone tried to make you feel invisible? Where someone looked right through you, like you weren't even there? What did you do? And more importantly, what do you wish you had done? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this story hits you in the chest, smash that like button. If you think someone else needs to hear it, share it. And if you're not subscribed yet, come on now. You know you want to. Hit subscribe and the bell so you never miss a story. And remember this, Your worth is not determined by how someone else treats you. It's determined by how you carry yourself when they do. Lorraine Wilson knew that. She passed it down to her granddaughter in a thin gold bracelet and 5 words. Don't show your cards early. Tara didn't, and the whole table paid. I'll see you in the next one. Yo, like someone's skin color? That tells you nothing about who they are. Nah, fruh. Judging people by their color is the biggest L you could ever take. We all bleed the same. We all dream the same. Respect ain't got a color code. Period.